My pal Dan Wallace commented sagely about my last post, Time to Chill, and included links to a couple of his own posts. I heartily recommend that you read them by clicking through to my post, scroll down to his comments, and then link to his essays. They explain in a compelling fashion what's critically important and what you know in your bones to be true. He ended his comments saying that he's sad that we are where we are, and he supposed that I am too. Here's how I replied. Sad, yes, and more. Here's a short story to illustrate. The gorilla sat calmly in his habitat, separated from the visitors at the zoo by a wide and deep moat. A child climbed the fence and was on the top of the moat wall on the gorilla's side of the fence. That's when the gorilla stood up and bellowed, beat his chest, and jumped up and down, scaring the child back to where he belonged. When our security and our identity are challenged, it's right for us to be angry and on the offense. That has nothing to do with sad. It's about appropriate aggressiveness to protect what we hold dear. Well, that's the job before us right now, to protect what we hold dear. Here's a set of 4 tweets from Paul Krugman, posted on January 18th of this year. Quote, "A thought about where we are as a nation. We're living in the age of unsurprising revelation. Is there anybody who doesn't already believe that Trump-Putin treason is a real thing? Even Trump loyalists surely know it's true. They just think it's an okay price for the racism. The question instead is when and whether the evidence will become so dramatic, so blatant, that Trump's defenders won't feel able to keep pretending they don't know. That is, it's not really about what we learn, but about how it plays out." Think of the Steve King story as a dress rehearsal. Everyone knew what he was and has for years. Somehow, though, we reached a tipping point where GOP leaders felt they had to say, "We're shocked to find open racism going on in our party." I don't know if we'll ever reach that sort of tipping point with Trump, but even if we do, remember, they've known all along, but were willing to sell out America as long as it was convenient. Close quotes. That means that in the face of the abject failure of those we rightly count on, we, you and I, must use appropriate aggressiveness to protect what we hold dear. At last, there are the beginnings of honest-to-goodness, constitutionally mandated oversight. What is sadly unsurprising is the volume of brainless, absurd opposition to that oversight in pursuit of protecting he who must be obeyed by Republicans. It's unsurprising because these legislators know that if they don't toe the line to protect Trump, they'll get primaried from the right in their next election, and Trump will stomp on their skulls. So for them, protecting Trump trumps all. Clearly, their careers in politics are far more important to them than, say, ensuring our democracy or safeguarding the Constitution, which they swore to protect and defend. Please don't complain that Krugman and I are unfairly bashing Republicans. If the Democrats were doing this, I'd be skewering them mercilessly. But they aren't. It's just the Republicans now, so they're the ones who get pinned to the center of the bullseye to be targets for the truth. So what can we do? Well, here's a set of 3 offerings devoid of right-left and R versus D conflict. These are about bringing us together to protect and defend what we hold dear, what we must protect and defend, because those guys aren't doing their job. Watch the video from Represent Us. It's linked from the written post. It's focused on ending the bipartisan corruption that infests our government. I know you're entirely on board with wanting to end the corruption of our politics, so watch the video. It goes down easy and is very much of a piece with the money, politics, and democracy programs I deliver. Here's the second thing. Read Jason Stanley's book, How Fascism Works. Buy it from your locally owned ma and pop bookstore to support them in your town. And don't put it in the stack of books you'll get to someday. Read it now. It's that timely. And while you're at it, get a copy of How Democracies Die. Third thing, If you're in the Chicago area, attend Jason Stanley's talk on March 23rd. There's a link in the written post to RSVP. For budget-sensitive patriots, it's a freebie. Contributions, of course, are welcome. Frank Bruni had a fine piece in last Sunday's New York Times in which he dug into what's behind the anti-vaxxers' refusal of the very things that can protect their children. It isn't that they don't love their children. It's more insidious and deadly than that. It's that they don't love truth. This is the age we're living in, a kind of anti-enlightenment era in which the search for so many is for propaganda that supports our opinions instead of searching for provable reality, feel-good stories instead of truth, and anger instead of resolution. And don't get too smug about this, because I think all of us are candidates for at least some of that description. Too many of our elected officials have played to this dumbed-down version of Americans, and these legislators are the very people who have abdicated their responsibilities in Congress. This stuff matters because of what you hold dear, so now is the time to be appropriately aggressive to protect it. I'm Jack Alshuler.